So the MOU partner meeting, 12/29. So what I would like to do is maybe take a minute and have folks introduce themselves, who's on. We've got a couple of new folks I can tell already from my list here. So maybe if you can introduce who you are and the WIOA title that you represent. And I'll start, I guess I'll call off BE. Well, I don't know, you guys won't know. So Beth Stranges.
Hi, I'm Beth Stranges. I am the Director of Economic Security with Chemung County Department of Social Services.
And Stacy Carollo.
Hi, I'm Stacey Carollo. I am the Supervisor for the Department of Labor in the Elmira office.
Jack Lance.
Hi everyone, Jack Nance. I'm the Regional Coordinator for Access VR for Utica, Syracuse, and the Southern Tier.
Okay. Jeffrey Lewis.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Lewis. I'm with Pastone Corporation, Title I Migrant and Seasonal Farm Worker Delivery System.
Joanne Fred Arcangelo.
Hi, Joanne Fred Arcangelo. I'm the Commissioner of Social Services representing Schuyler County.
Lise Reynolds.
Hello, I'm Lise Reynolds. I'm a Deputy Commissioner for Steuben County.
Vicki Mockler. I don't know, Vicki, if you're on the same call with Steve, maybe you and Steve both.
Sure. So Vicki Mockler and Steve Ryan, both with the Department of Labor. Steve is our manager over our Career Center system as well as our business engagement. I oversee our systems unit and support Steve in the Career Centers as well. So we are over Title III for Wagner Pizer, as well as the TAA and Veterans programs, in UI as well. Sorry, there's an extra one there.
All right. Patricia Stovall-Lane.
Hi, I am Patricia Stovall-Lane, Executive Director for Workforce Development Program for Pastone Corporation for the National Farm Worker Jobs Program and the Seniors Community Services Employment Program in State, New York, Mid-Hudson area, and Ohio.
All right. Phyllis Ballier.
Phyllis Ballier, Deputy Director of CSS Workforce New York.
All right. Sally Rousseau.
Hi, Sally Rousseau, Employment and Training Programs Manager. So I do the CSEP and the TANF program here, along with the CSBG ENT for Steuben.
All right. Shelley Madden.
Hi, Shelley Madden. I am the System Manager for CSS Workforce New York, overseeing the 4 career centers.
Welcome, Shelley. You slid in. I didn't see you when we started this. So
I'm quiet.
Tina O'Haron.
Hi, Tina O'Haron, Deputy Commissioner, Chemung County.
All right, and I have a 518 phone number on here. Is that just the audio for you, Vicki and Steve?
That's better.
518-391.
Yep, that's us, Dan.
Okay. All right, so that's everybody here today. Welcome all. I hope you are enjoying your holiday season so far. We still have some more to go. And just to kind of add to the seasonal spirit and the fun and foo-for-all, we're going to muddle through some MOU fun stuff today. So, woohoo! Patricia, before I go too far in this, I know that you had, and thank you, you had provided your table 3 where you had checked the boxes. Can I have your permission to kind of share that as a learning instrument as we go through this with everybody?
Sure, no problem.
Good, cool, thank you. So our mission today is really to try and hammer through a few of the key parts on here around referrals and some of those program areas. Kind of finalize the expectations on the table 3 that we're going to talk about. And then I'll share with you, and folks we can have some general discussion about if you guys are getting specific instructions from your chains of command on how to get the budget numbers in and how to present them. And my hope is to kind of hammer through as much of this as we can. And I do have meetings stacked up like planes on a runway today. So at 3:30, I'm going to have to kind of sneak out. So we'll get as much done as we can between now and then. I will have Melissa, she's off on vacation today. She will follow up with all the recordings and minutes and all that fun stuff with folks. We will probably have to add at least one more meeting into our queue. I'm just kind of letting folks know this ahead of time because we've got a couple of partners who we've not been able to get in contact with. And I want to make sure that we've afforded them every opportunity to kind of follow through on this before we, I want to give them every opportunity we can. Is there anything else anyone else wants to make sure we accomplish today before we kind of really dig into the template and the MOU? All right. So the good news is that our folks in our chains of commands, Department of Labor or whatever your state agency is above, have sent out a fillable MOU template form. So I'm going to kind of share my screen so that we can all be looking at the same information while we progress. So this is kind of what it looks like. We've shared with everyone the Department of Labor website where this is housed. It sounds like there's some additional information coming down your various hierarchies. So I'm sure everyone has already seen this. Again, not to belabor what we covered at the last meeting, but the interagency teams have put a lot of hard work into kind of coming to a pre-agreement on what their various legal teams will readily sign off on. They've given us a limited number of opportunities to really provide some information and feedback and stuff to put into that. So we can really kind of focus on those areas. The agreement that we've used in the past, and I think everyone concurred at the last meeting, but I certainly would love to hear sooner rather than later if folks want to modify this or suggest the partnership modify it, is that the focus of our MOU really be on making sure that we hit the compliance points and providing what the group agrees are important bits of information that need to go in here, but really being creative and allowing that localized, i.e. Career Center specific creativity and partnering strategies, really kind of push that down to locally here what's our next level, which is our one-stop operations meetings that we then break down either by county or by Career Center, as the case may be. So that being said, I guess I'll just double check the temperature of the group. Does everyone still concur with that as our primary methodology here?
Yes.
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 So hearing none, we're going to trot along. So looking at our screen here, this is our template. CSS staff will take the responsibility to fill in blanks along with this and ultimately submit it as well. So areas where we can have impact, the name of the area, I think I got that. We covered intent to the MOU. That has largely been agreed upon, so we're not going to be making some changes from there. Parties to the MOU, ultimately, we do need to confirm up by title who exactly we're going to make as points of contact, whether it's the signator or the negotiator. So please, everybody, reconfirm with your chain of command and make sure that you know who that's going to be so that I have accurate information to put in here. All right. As you can see, the form does allow me to add rows. So for example, our TANF partners that are around the table here, there'll be a line for each of the respective local areas on that. So we'll kind of work down through. The next one is service provision locations. This is an area where, so there's going to be, on line number 1 is obviously going to be our one comprehensive center that we have in our area, which will be the Elmira Center. We'll also be adding rows specifically for our centers in Hornell, in Bath, and in Montour Falls. Self-service resources eligible partner program sites. If you want or need to have your sites identified, I'm going to need all of the information specific to your funding stream to add in the requisite number of rows. So last year, for instance, Corning Community College had as the Perkins recipient locally, they identified, I want to say 8 or 10 different locations where Perkins services could be provided. I think ProAction, just to kind of Sally pick on you for a moment, I think you guys, I can't remember, you did a couple of different sites as well because you did, I think, the Addison Center.
Yes. Some resource centers.
Yep, the resource centers. So you'll want to make sure you confirm with your chain of command where your WIOA funds are going to be spent in terms of service provision locations. And if you could please get that to me sooner rather than later, it would be really, really helpful. Is there any questions on that piece? That's really where the first workload is, or homework assignment comes into play. Does everyone feel pretty comfortable? Okay, so hearing none, let's keep sliding along. The common identifier, we use what U.S. Department of Labor requires, which is the American Job Center Network. More of that, and granted, I will tell you, all of our career centers, New York State Department of Labor, was it last year or the year before? I've lost track of time. But they printed up some really nice window cling style logos. So all of our career centers locally have adopted some very uniform compliant signage and demarcations. It's on all of our letterhead. It's on our web pages. I'm going to assume at this point that every one of you have looked at your own programs and you've used, in accordance with WIOA's, request. You've kind of incorporated all those logos so they be incorporated. If not, you probably should look at the regs and see how and see where at a minimum you need to meet those. But we're not going to get into that today. Applicable career services, coordination, and delivery. This really is the table 3 checklist, and I know that we had kind of at the last one assigned a homework assignment to everybody start preparing your own respectives. Again, looking at the MOU, each of the categories is defined per the CFR relevant sections. So what it comes down to is it looks like this here. Whoops, computer's got a little delay here. So what Patricia Stovall-Lane shared with us was, and let me see, I'm gonna change my shared screen here, was their form. I think that's it right there. Oh, no, that's not it. That's the old one again. See, I told you I was technology impaired. All right. Let's see if I can find it here. I think I figured it out. Hold on. Yep, there we go. All right. So this is what Patricia shared with us as a starting point. So her group has gone through this table 3 analysis. They've read each of those definitions, and they've provided a template of where they're going to do it. So they're kind of sharing with the group that according to those definitions and their program operations, they can provide eligibility for Title I services specific to their program, obviously. They're doing outreach and intake into the system, as well as some orientation, and so on and so forth. So this is how they've gone through. They've also listed the individualized and follow-up career services that they will offer. So what I would hope is that we can get every partner agency on the group to one of these and send it to me. If you go to the Department of Labor website and or our website where we've got additional things posted, additional copies and links posted, you can just pull this directly from the MOU template, and you can just delete all the pages except for this particular page. and then just sort of check them in. Does everyone feel comfortable doing this? Are there technical questions that anybody has that would kind of prevent them from going through and filling this all out relative to their area? Anyone? I can't tell.
Did we do this before?
Oh yeah, you did this last MOU. This is a mimic of.
Can you just send us what that was? It would make it just so much easier.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, I'm assuming it doesn't really change.
Probably not. No, not unless you've made some sort of really systemic change to what you do and how you do things. I would think not, because WIOA hasn't changed in 3 or 4 years. So.
Right. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, you know, where we fit. The TANF ENT, that's what we're looking at?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you are the far right column. So you'd be just doing that particular column.
Yeah, just send me what we did before.
All right. So I don't know if it'll come from me. I will probably ask Mel to send it out tomorrow. But what we'll do is we'll get a copy of the old MOUs from 4 years ago, 3 years ago, however long. We'll just pull out the summary sheet like this that everyone submitted, and we'll send to everybody.
Thank you.
All right. And then as soon as you have confirmed at your end, if you could, in a perfect world, if you could shoot me back yours ASAP, then we'll recompile for a current version. Which, you're right, will probably be almost the same, if not the same as the last version, but we'll have gone through the official double check. All right. Any other questions? No? All right. Let me close that out then here. Oh, MOU template. There we go. All right. So what will ultimately happen will be when I get everyone's responses back, I'll go in and populate the various columns and rows on this particular document. All right. Referral of system customers. This is an area where, as you can see, there's very little agreed upon language by the team. And this is where we can really spend some time or put in some verbiage in here around how we're referring system customers amongst each other. I did have Mel send everybody some information on this, on what we have out there right now. Did everyone have a chance to take a peek at that? It's okay if you say no.
To be honest, I don't remember getting it. I remember seeing the chart that you sent out, but I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Well, let me pull up a couple of things here real quick. I thought I had them already on here. I apologize, but. So what I sent out was, or what I had Mel send out was a couple of different pieces of the pie. Let me just open them up here and then I'll share my screen. All right. So what we shared, or what Mel shared, was really, again, some of the heavy lifting that folks in Albany did. So there's an interagency team. I don't want to say the same, but it could very well be the same interagency team that was working in Albany on creating a common referral release of information type of form. So locally, what we have is we've had a policy locally that is really antiquated, and the more I read it, it probably is due for a good update. But we have a local policy in our area as to how we're going to refer how we're going to refer customers. This policy is specific to the Career Center. So this policy does not necessarily, because it was written pre-COVID, does not necessarily vision or well represent how we could do referrals, you know, using some of the modern techniques that we have. But that was provided to you. It is really pretty skeletal. We don't get into a great depth of detail. It's a 6-part process. But the hallmark of this, quite honestly, is not the 6-step process. The hallmark really is the work that was done by this interagency team to create the infrastructure that we can share information seamlessly back and forth. So everybody on the interagency team in Albany did agree to the verbiage that's in this. All we did was just copy paste it, put it on some local letterhead. But really, when we want to refer someone or release information and be able to kind of share that joint customer, the customer, her or himself, could work with their counselor to fill out the release of information form. It does authorize only WIOA partner agencies listed below to obtain, discuss, etc. It does, of course, have the end dates in there. You know, I can change my mind. They would check which relevant information they are interested in having the partners share about their case to provide kind of that seamless delivery of services. And then this would be the WIO agencies releasing, receiving the information. So this is, and this down here is the disclaimer for those of you. This here is the disclaimer. So you can kind of verify if you're actually able to use this locally. I will tell you that the interagency did the heavy lift on this, so I am 99.99% certain that you could, but you may want to just for your own peace of mind check that out. So we have a basic referral process. We have really an approved in Albany version of a release of information and kind of that infrastructure. I will say, you know, some of you are operationally on the ground floor and you've seen how this works. So we have been using it locally to do that. My question, or the question before the court, if you will, is we have to put something in the referral part of the MOU. Do we want to maybe kind of make a more general, I mean, there's a couple different ways to, infinite number of ways to skin this cat. We could, you know, copy and paste the entire local policy and put it in there. We could make a more broad, you know, we're going to use an approved upon referral process, incorporating and really make the meat of the referral verbiage, you know, the use of this interagency release form. We could come up with something brand spanking new and draft it fresh and keep it short and sweet, or we could do something brand spanking new and wax poetic and write a 20-page tome. What is the feeling of the group around this? How do you want to enshrine this in our MOU?
Yeah, and I think in the MOU, it should be broader and then referencing a specific policy or procedure, because if you decide to change it, then you almost have to go back and change the MOU. Like if there's something that's not working after you design how the referral process is working for some piece or whatever, then it kind of, I think, creates an issue if it's within the MOU. Just my opinion.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, that's sage advice. Are there other thoughts out there, or other opinions?
I agree. Sorry, it took me a minute to click off my mute.
Okay. Is there anyone that does not want to kind of stay broad in the in the MOU itself? Is anyone who wants to go in there and do something a little more in-depth or specific? Or are we all kind of have a consensus on keeping it broad?
I like the idea also of keeping it broad, especially for referrals that you have to us, and we might be able to follow up on and give you more information. So I also like the idea and not having to reinvent it if it doesn't work.
All right, so I think we've got at least a tripartite consensus here that we're gonna maybe use that approach. So then I guess the next step in the questioning process would be, do we want to reference, kind of create a new statement of a couple of sentences that references, we'll use the established referral process policies for the CSS Workforce New York Career Centers, specifically utilizing the interagency release of information form and its replacements and whatnot in the future? Do we want to have a kind of a 2-sentence or 3-sentence statement along those lines? Or do we want to kind of cut that short and say we're going to use the interagency release of information form and then whatever respective policies locally apply to it? Or how to, I'd love to hear thoughts and opinions on how to skin this cat. Not literally. All right. I'm not going to pull it out of anybody today. So what my thought would be that I will draft up and send out a new statement, 1, 2, 3, not more than a paragraph, which basically says we're going to use the established local policies and infrastructure, and specifically the interagency release of information form as our primary tool to send referrals and make sure that we've got appropriate protections in place for that information. All right.
Yeah.
And then I'll shoot that out. And that'll give you all something to kind of respond to. Does everyone concur with that, or do you, anyone else want to take a stab at writing it?
Oh, I think that sounds good, Dan.
I agree.
Don't all volunteer. I'm okay with it. All right. Good news. So let me go back to our MOU here real quick. So going back to where we were at, that really is number 4 right here, the referral of system customers. So if we're looking at not more than a paragraph, and if we use kind of the confidentiality paragraph size here, so the paragraph would look kind of like that first paragraph under confidentiality in terms of size. I'm going to intentionally not be wordy. And that'll be hard for me. For those of you that work with me, you'll know that that's a tough one. All right, so number 5 is confidentiality. This is another area where we can, as a partnership, weigh in some additional language. What I would say here is that there's already a goodly chunk that is agreed upon by the various interagency and the interstate agency teams that talk about partners agreeing to the requirements. Information can only be shared with voc rehab partners with signed releases, which we have, as we talked about. If we use that as our referral mechanism, then I think that solidifies. PII protections. Is there anything, so if we want to add additional verbiage above and beyond these 3 paragraphs, we can certainly add it in here. Is there anything out there? I know voc rehab is specifically mentioned. We do mention, the DOL programs, the TANF programs, kind of down in here, but it's really more of a generic type of thing. Is there anybody out there from any of the titles that would feel comfortable or need to, in order to feel comfortable, would need to have some additional verbiage around confidentiality, or are you good here? I can make it bigger if it's hard to read. To be honest with you, I try not to influence the conversation too badly, or at least trying to invite conversation on this where possible. I really like what the 3 paragraphs have. When I read this and I see that, you know, insert additional language and it's kind of at the bottom and there's almost a little subliminal message, if not, then delete this sentence added to it. It seems to lead me to the realm of we should probably not toy with this and we should just sort of leave it. But I certainly, I'm really open to other people's concerns on this. This is a big deal on this one. So is anybody feeling that need? Okay.
I am not.
I don't see anybody's head. I'm looking at all the heads on my screen here. I don't see anybody shaking their head that yes, they really need to spend some time here. So my thought would be that we will just simply delete that insert additional language if necessary sentence, and we'll move on. Whoops, got too far here. All right. And really the last area programmatically where we can have some real discussion or impact on the services side of the MOU is right here under system access. We really do need to put a plan in place of how we're going to serve the needs of all workers, especially youth and individuals with barriers through the system. Does anybody have, I mean, there's a couple, again, there's infinite number of ways to skin this cat. But does anybody have like some key parameters of verbiage that you would need or you would think would need to be in there as we kind of look at drafting this? Do you want me to cut and paste out from the last services MOU, what the partnership did at that time as a place to react from? Although the world is noticeably different than it was 4 years ago. So I'm hesitant to just take what we wrote before. I just think from an inclusivity and equity perspective, I think there's probably some new realities that we need to reflect in what we're doing as a group. Thoughts, opinions?
But it might be a good jumping off point.
That was
I would
Jeff.
agree with that.
Beth. Okay.
Dan,
So as
I know
long as
in your last one, there was a virtual accessibility. I think that's something we could definitely, given the times, expand upon if necessary too.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, we do. Yep. Okay. So my thought would be I'm sending out an old copy of the one. I'm drafting up some verbiage on the referrals or of the table, drafting up the verbiage for the referrals. I can cut out the verbiage from system access from the old one as a starting off point to kind of steal Jeff's words. And then we can kind of look to fine tune it at our next meeting. But I think we definitely need to be looking at the virtual, at the inclusivity. So I really would hope that folks could maybe steal from some other work that maybe they're doing within their respective agencies around serving these customers, particularly those with barriers or historically underserved, and maybe offer in some verbiage in that. Pretty please. All right. All right. So looking at this, so a couple of different things here that really moves us down into the operating budget. So the probably the most sensitive part historically of any MOU is where we start talking dollars and cents. So we got two different numbers that we ultimately need from every partner. In table 4, we do need your average annual budget to support the system. some of these I'll be rolling up and combining. So the TANF E&T, for instance, actually, no, I can just add rows in this one. They've added the ability to add a row. So TANF E&T, I'll need one from each county, so on and so forth. We'll build those in there. And then the infrastructure career budget or infrastructure budget of the career centers. So I'd asked permission earlier if I could use Stacy Crollo got one from the Department of Labor. So I'd like to kind of share what they provided, just to kind of give people the visualization. So let me switch screens. Yeah, of course I said that, and now. Give me just a moment while it fires up. All right. So this is the information that our local Stacy from the Department of Labor locally shared with us. She got these numbers from her hierarchy. So Vicki and Steve, you've probably seen this information already. But really for the two numbers, this is what the Department of Labor sent. So we're not looking for a lot of gory detail on this. So if you see, I've got two tabs down here on the bottom of the screen. All right, I've got operating budget and I have infrastructure costs. So on operating budget, I'm really just looking for the big picture budget number. So Joanne and Lise were enlightening me on their budget number is really what they expended. So Joanne, I'm speaking, I'm trying to paraphrase what you shared, but realistically their budget is really their expenditures, and you took as your best number for this negotiation perspective your PY19 expenditures as the number that you put in there. For me, on my side of the equation, I'll be doing my NOA, which is the total amount that I could spend in a year. That will be how I'm approaching it. But bottom line, we're going to be looking for an annualized operating budget, not broken down, representing all WIOA for your relevant funding stream, expenditures, budgets, revenues, however your particular stream calculates that. Some of you can get this will need to get these numbers from your finance departments. Some may need to go up your chain of command to, to Albany and get some numbers out of your state agencies to make sure you're getting the right numbers in there. Does anybody have questions on how this would go, or strategies that you think you're going to use locally? Okay, I'm assuming that's a no. We got this, Dan. We're good to go. The next is infrastructure costs. So this is how the Department of Labor did theirs. What I would say is they were kind enough to include the full picture. So you guys won't be doing that. So realistically, if you look at what's in the MOU template, these are the categories that we have on there and then subtotaling across. So what you can see here is what the rental payments are for the Department of Labor for the Elmira Center. They don't pay any rent in Hornell or Corning. So this is what we're looking at, is really broken down. So this is in our area, our cost allocation strategy is based on those partners that are co-located in a center. Okay, so partners that are co-located in Montour Falls. The Title I partner is present, and that's it. We have other partners nearby in the facility, and some that will rotate occasionally and are offer an occasional class, but there really are no other partners in Montour Falls. Therefore, the budget and the infrastructure and the cost sharing there is really, really easy to calculate, because CSS will provide that. If you are in Bath, co-located partners in Bath, so people that I will need budget numbers from. The Title I providers, including the youth program. Department of Labor, you do have a small facility, a small room tucked in behind So ultimately, I'm going to need your budget for rent. And actually knowing how ProAction does this, I think rent pretty much covers everything else. So I really will be looking for a lease number for that location.
Dan, I have all of Bath's ready for you, so I can supply that.
Sally, you are my favorite person in the world today. Thank you. I would love to have that. All right. So Sally's got all that information for the Bath Center. Hornell, Steve, Vicky, realistically, I think you have the access because you're the primary leaseholder in that Hornell building. If you could kind of share down the various sub pieces on that lease, I think that would be the fastest way to get it. Otherwise, I know that ProAction, you've got lease space in the Hornell facility. The Title I does. Access, I think you still do in that back corner still. Jack, do you know?
Yes, we still use that. We haven't been out there in a year, but or almost a year, but yes.
Yeah, us too.
Right.
Yep. I think that's all the partners that are technically co-located. Steve and Vicky, you'd have to kind of correct for sure, but if you could go through your sublets with the partners, I think that's probably the fastest, most comprehensive way to get to the bottom of this.
We'll reach out to our group on our end, Dan, and see what we can do.
Beautiful, Vicky. Thank you very much. In Elmira, I will approach, and Corning Community is not on this call, but for the people that are in Corning Communities, the Elmira Academic and Workforce Development Center, I know Department of Labor, you guys got a good chunk. I know that the Title I folks have a good chunk. There's a PTE program on site that has a chunk. CCDSS, I think you still got a space, Laura's space. OTDA has a space. I don't know, is OTDA is not on today. So we'll have to get them. Who am I missing? Anybody in Elmira? Phyllis, Beth, did I get everybody? Shelley? I think that's one.
Yeah, I think we have everybody.
And again, that location is also pretty well the same. We do everything through our lease agreements. So I think if we can get those numbers, I think we can hammer through this part pretty quickly. I'll make a to-do list for myself to check with CCC on the gross annual leases. Just as a counter check, make sure we get everybody on that. Right?
And then Dan, you'll be putting that gross amount in that area where it says rent or whatever the.
Yep.
Please.
Yeah, what there'll be actually, it won't look as pretty as this. Stacy was kind enough to put that on a quick and easy format for us. What it's going to actually look like is going to look like, I think this is it right here. Yep. What it's actually going to look like is this.
Right.
And the template has these formulas already figured in, so I don't even have to do math. I just got to make sure I type right. So I'll be looking at by center. So the local workforce area will be a CSS. The address of the center, we've got 4 of them. So put each of those. We have one comprehensive center. The others are affiliate sites, affiliate centers. And then for each of those locations, if you're co-located and working off those numbers, I'll plug them in and it'll spit it out really quick and clean.
Perfect.
I'm not sure what this is. This seems a little bit redundant, but I'll take that information that we put on attachment A and I'll re-specify it on attachment B. But that's really all there is on the budget. So if you go back to that MOU, there's your gross dollars, and really we're looking for a big type of number there. And then there is the co-located partners in each of the respective centers, which is primarily leases and rental agreements. And then by golly, I think that's really the most painful part of it. Questions, comments, angst, anxiety, relative to this anyways, that we can discuss on this?
Dan, just a question, I guess. Do you want to know how much is spent on like summer youth employment?
Those are not WIOA dollars.
Okay.
So while I am interested personally and professionally, I love to see that kind of investment. For the purposes of this, please no.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because,
Yep.
you know,
Just your WIOA funding stream, pretty please.
Yeah, we didn't include that on the last one.
I didn't think
Joanne.
so, but I just was double checking.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, angst, anxiety? Hints, tips of how to make it easier for your fellow partners on here? Okay. I'm feeling like this was somewhat painless, and which usually means that something's going to bite me on the back end here. So let me see if I can get to the MOU template here. Again. So going back to where we're at on the template then, we'll take those numbers. This is where I'll put in your big numbers into the actual template itself. The infrastructure budgets. Again, we're going to complete attachment A and attachment B. The narrative piece here. So at the bottom, this last line in section E, infrastructure, describe how the partners determined acceptable share percentages. Our allocation methodology is based on square footage for on-site partners, co-located partners. That's our allocation methodology. So based upon square footage, that determines share percentages. So each of our centers has shared space, and then the respective percentage of the dedicated space becomes your respective percentage of the shared space. And that's a whole lot of gibberish, but I can steal the verbiage out of the last MOU and plug it in there because it hasn't changed. That's our methodology that we use locally. So we use leasing and square footage as our methodology. We identify the parameters of the actual center itself, which is particularly important because in our buildings, we know we're not the only people in that building. In any of those spaces, we share it. So it's just that space. The partners do agree, and the on-site partners do agree as to what is shared space and what is, dedicated to specific partner space. And we allocate the shared space based on the percentage of the dedicated space in there. So it's our methodology. It's what we've used for a number of years. And again, I'm just going to steal the verbiage from the last one. So the focus for everyone on this group would be to, if you're in a co-located partner in attachment, then I need you to focus on getting your information to the centers. If you are a partner on this, so all the partners, I need to know your big annual budget number.
Right.
Questions, comments, nervousness, hesitation? Hearing none. After that, we get into general provisions. Infrastructure budget will be reviewed, reconciled, and updated periodically. We do have to identify how many months. My thought is that we just maybe look at it once a year and just kind of reconcile on an annual basis, but I'll verify to make sure the gap that we can use. And then the name of the WIB, and then signatures. Signatures. So I was pretty certain last call that we had that we could use electronic signatures. It's not the first time in my life I've been wrong, and I promise you it won't be the last, but it looks like we're going to actually have signatures. Steve and Vicky, do you have a different? Is anything changing that either of you are aware of?
Dan, I know we're looking into that, so hopefully we'll have a remedy soon, but right now it's originals, but we are looking into electronics. Okay. Because there was a letter sent up.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's some some pretty pleases being asked. Because that was really, and Steve, you weren't able to join us on last, but that was kind of a big deal. A lot of questions on how we were going to do that last time. It's a logistical nightmare. So anything.
No, I was on the last call when you were talking about it.
Oh, you were? Okay, all right. I thought it was just Vicky. Okay. Good.
No, I just had my spokesperson.
Okay.
I'll
So we're
remember that
working on it,
next year.
folks. We're working on it. Hopefully Steve and the rest of the interagency team can find a way to make our lives easy and go electronic, but we may be going down the road of original signatures. So we probably should have each of you figure out how many signed originals you're going to need. So if you just want one signed original for you, that's great. Then just tell me that. Some places need 2, 3, 4 or more. And then we have to take however many signed originals, and then we got to stack it all up. And then whoever the signatory is will have to sign however many originals, 15, 20, 30, whatever it takes. So kind of keep that in mind. How many signed originals do you want? So if we have to go wet signatures, how many do you need? All right. So it's 3:27. I need to scoot in 3 minutes. I know I was either purely dumb lucky or something there. You guys all helped me to make sure I got done at 3:30. Does everyone kind of know what we need to do, what your homework assignments are, what my homework assignments are? Anything good of the order?
Are we adding another meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it via doodle poll, I think. Because I'm gonna have to lean on some of our partners that haven't been able to get to any of these yet. But yes, we will almost certainly be adding. I know that we put one more meeting in. I believe Melissa already sent it out to everybody. Let me see if I can find it on my calendar here.
I think it's January 12th.
My computer logged me out of my Outlook, so
Oh,
January
no.
12th does seem about right.
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 2:30.
So we may need to add in another one, like the either later that week, because we have to get notes out to the county legislatures by the 18th. Do you want to try and add another meeting in the intermittent Tuesday, the 5th? Or do you want to try and sneak in a second meeting the week, following that 12th, or thoughts? Or do you want me to doodle poll it?
I think from the DOL side, we could make whatever works for the group, Dan.
Okay. Anyone have any really immovable objects in terms of?
Dan, so when are you saying you're going to get this to us so that we can submit it? Because actually, I would be needing to submit to our legislature the 20th.
Right. So,
But I mean, that would be the drop dead last day that they would accept anything for committee on the 26th.
right.
I mean, I
was
could try to
targeting
walk it in, but I'm not have to have the attorney review it before it can go there and have his blessing.
which is why the 18th is the date that I need to get it to you. So I'm targeting the 18th to get you guys, because you're the earliest of my counties on this trajectory.
My concern is if our attorney has questions,
Okay.
what do we do then?
I mean, you have the MOU right now. If you could let him, I mean, there's very little that we're going to put into this. I mean, if he could look at the MOU such that it is, and then realistically, we're only adding paragraphs here or there.
MOU
The MOU template.
template, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I can try it. I don't know that he'll fly with it. He's very by the book and he wants to see what is written. And you're going to be adding language.
Correct, but I
I
will
mean,
not.
I can tell him that what's in the MOU has been state approved, and usually that can get it moving, but he's going to want to see the full thing.
Right. So internally, I had targeted to get you a copy by the 18th, in anticipation of your committee meeting requirement on the 20th, and that would give you like a couple of days window in there. So that was my target, again, because you're my earliest county.
Well, the other option is I will let them know. I can give them, this is, you know, the template we're following. And I'm going to have to ask to walk it in. I'll talk to Tim about it.
Okay.
But yeah.
So the MOU template that's on the online, obviously and you've been part of privy to these conversations. That
Right.
verbiage is not going to change. So if he wanted to spend some time reading that state approved language, and kind of giving his
right. But
his
then
thing.
when I hand him the one that has the other verbiage in it, I just want to make sure he's okay with that.
Yeah, and then on the 18th, you could hand him one with a couple of extra paragraphs in it.
Well, I probably would wait to hand him anything because I think it'll confuse him. If I say, well, and there's going to be changes, he's not going to read it.
Okay, all right.
I mean, just knowing how it works.
Right. Well, then I guess I will, mine was the 18th. At some point, I can get it to you 18th by noon.
That would be fine. The sooner the better, because like I said, it has to go through his review and I can put on it that this is a rush for committee. But
No, I believe me, I get it. I got 2 other counties that I'm
yeah,
coordinating
sorry
with.
about that to be a pain, but
Nah,
I know our attorney is he reads everything.
That's actually a good thing.
Yes, it is, but
So.
I'm just telling you.
So that if we can get consensus and if we can get partners and if we can get all of our homework in and I get all the budgets and I get everything, and on the 12th, we plug everything in there, and we all come to an agreement, then I can get the initial out, shortly after the 12th. Otherwise, if giving me a couple of days to kind of do final checks with the partners that may or may not choose to come to the meetings to talk. That's really my challenge. But by the 18th at noon, I'll send you what I have. And then subsequently, that will also be the deadline where if I have partners that have chosen not to participate in the negotiations or be responsive in any way, shape, or form, then I will take advantage of the guidance and send up their information to whomever in Albany, and they can, I don't know, do whatever they need to do. So that'll be my plan then. So everybody, please, please, please get all your homework to me. If you want to send it electronically to me ahead of time, that would be awesome. All right. So budget 2 numbers at the 1 or 2 numbers, depending. Your big budget and your, if you're a co-located partner, the second number for your budget. And then I will be sending out the old table 3 to folks. I'm going to need that back. If you could get that back to me by the 10th at the latest, then I can have a combined thing for the meeting on the 12th. All right. I'll shoot the same with the referral verbiage. I'll get that out to you. We'll close that on the 12th. And then the services for the other populations. I think, to be honest with you, we should probably reserve most of the meeting on the 12th for that conversation. Just because I think there's new realities and that may not be as simple as just, taking the old verbiage. It's not as simple as just taking the old verbiage. So come prepared to add in some information on the meeting on the 12th. We'll finish that. All right. I feel like I just muddied that at the end. Does everyone kind of know what they're doing? Yes? No?
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming that's a yes. All right, cool beans. Thank you all. I apologize for going 5 minutes over. I'm gonna go catch my proverbial plane here. Thank you all for coming out in this mid-holiday meeting format. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, Dan, take care.
Good day.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Unknown participant is now exiting.